Hi, my name is Ava. I am a technical and social media intern here at Minto Studios. I'm from Campbell, California, but I study media at Syracuse University up in upstate New York.
Hi, I'm Nichelle. I'm the other intern at Minto Studios. I'm a social media intern, and I'm studying media at UC Berkeley. I'm from Fremont, California.
So today we're going to be interviewing our wonderful boss, Lionel, and we are going to be comparing Singaporean and US media industry cross-culture differences.
Hi everyone, my name is Lionel. I am from Singapore, not from United States. I run Minto Studios, which is a photography and video production house. I am very excited to have my two interns from the United States to interview me today. And yeah, so hopefully we can touch on some interesting topics together today. Anyway, how was Singapore for you so far?
Yeah, it's been great. It's actually been great for me to be back because I'm Singaporean American. But Ava, I know it's your first time here in Asia. So do you want to tell us what your favorite part of being in Singapore has been?
Yeah, it is my first time here in Asia. Kind of a huge change. I got a couple of culture shocks. But I would say my favorite part, oddly enough, is the MRT. You know, we have VTA and we have BART back in California, but there's really nothing else other than driving that is as efficient as the MRT. So it's kind of nice to go there.
So of all the things in Singapore that we have to offer, the one thing you love is the trains here in Singapore.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a weird thing to be really interested in, but I really, really like them.
Well, efficiency, I guess, is attractive.
Nichelle, I, have had more culture shocks just with the general Singaporean experience. I know you were Singaporean American, so is there like a huge difference in work culture? What's been the most interesting thing about working at Minto Studios for you?
That's a great question. I feel like in terms of work culture, I haven't had much work experience before this, so it's been really nice getting to know the Singapore creative industry. Although I haven't had an internship in the US, I have talked to a lot of professionals who work there, and so I've gotten to hear some kinds of different point of view, especially with the size of the US being much bigger than the size of Singapore. And I guess some sort of cultural experiences I've had, not really a shock, but because I'm working with both a Singaporean and an American intern, and my supervisors are Singaporean, then I kind of get to see which parts of my upbringing were Singaporean and which parts were American. They both kind of come together. And so it's been really interesting and sort of a self-reflection and growth moment.
Very good. I mean, it's good for me as well because being able to work with the two of you gives me a little bit of a different perspective about how we work with international interns. The two of you obviously bring a different perspective that I may not have seen. So it's good. It's a good way of understanding the global culture as well. For me to adjust and learn to work with different characteristics as well.
All right, so let's dive in. Our first question for you today is again about that mixing between US and Singapore culture. And so from our experience in the US, there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of creators who want to make it big and make themselves visible.
Yes.
So we're asking you if you think that Singapore, since it's a little bit smaller, if that's also an issue or if that's also something that you're considering a lot.
In Singapore, whether you are a production house or whether you are a content creator, if you're anywhere in the marketing industry, everyone is trying to stand out. You imagine if you are contained into a small little country here and everybody's trying to fight for the same piece of pie. So it's extremely competitive here. It can be quite intense. Because of that reason, everyone knows almost everyone, right? Because it's such a small country. It is important that we maintain good relationships with everyone. Try not to be the idiot lah. But yeah, so I think it's finding ways to stand out in this. Maybe it's a little bit more unique. For us, we are a lot about, or at least for Minto Studios, we are a lot about collaborating so that we can stand out together. Because when we partner up, we have more capabilities, we have a louder voice, we can do more unique and interesting things together with smaller resources, if that makes any sense.
I think something that's interesting about that is I was more considering that if there's a smaller population, there's probably more opportunities for the marketing industry, but I didn't consider that it might be more of a race compared to the US, where there's always new opportunities popping up and new companies popping up everywhere compared to how centralized it is in Singapore. So speaking of US dynamics, we have a lot longer timelines. We have huge budget projects. And we have a lot more of like a higher specialization when it comes to our projects, especially more towards the creator than the client. So I was wondering if it was similar in Singapore or how different is it comparatively?
What I've noticed as a production house is more often than not, the turnaround is insanely short. It's like not months, but in weeks. Like we've done a project before, or a television commercial done in 3 weeks. From
Wow.
conceptualization to delivery. Production timelines can be quite intense here. The teams here can be very small because of budgets, right? So we have to be very lean because I would like to say the Hollywood budgets are not really existing here in Singapore. It's just the way the market is here in Asia. We're not known to be like the kind of media budgets. So here, what happens is to achieve the same quality of work, we have to work very efficiently. Again, very Singaporean thing, right? Work very efficiently. Everybody has to wear 3, 4, 5 hats at a time. Sometimes I do watch videos from US creators, and I find that they have very interesting budget-friendly ways to solve some production problems. So I think that we have a lot to learn from you guys also, and I think that's quite interesting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finally, I think what we do here, because we are so small, again, and everybody knows everybody, friendly collaboration is very important for us to succeed. So us collaborating with agencies, cross collaborating with other production houses, again, to achieve bigger projects. To get the level that we want. So I think that's probably from my perspective.
For sure. As an intern, I've definitely seen people wear a lot of different hats and also participate in a lot of the collaboration that's gone on. And so, based on all of the things you mentioned, like the lean budgets and the competition because Singapore is so small, what would you say is one of the toughest moments that you faced?
When it comes to the most difficult challenge I've had, right, I only go to one thing that hit me really hard a couple of years back. Well, I trusted somebody, right? Too much, I would say. We had done a project before with this guy, and I've known him for many years. So he was an agency. I was doing production work for him. The year before, we did one national project. It worked out. I was paid at the end of the year, at the end of the whole project. A little late, but I was still paid, right? So I thought, okay, cool. It came again, the same project, same national project came again the following year. I said, okay, I'll trust you. Let's go ahead and do it. I was asking for deposit. And I was like, hey, bro, can you help me first or not? And I said, oh, okay. Then the clients were already contacting me to get the shoots going. I was like, okay, this is time sensitive. I still need to go. I trust you. Let me move on. My mistake was I should have done a contract. Long story short, the project was $200,000, Singapore dollars, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, that's a
so-
lot.
And I didn't get paid.
Yeah,
so
that's for those at home. That's about a little under $160,000 for
Wow.
US.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
So from that point, we learned to tighten our processes, implement tighter contracts. We still trust, we still believe in agency collaboration. That didn't turn me away from them, but we turn it into ways where we could get better together. Contracts is one thing, and being a production house also, one thing I've learned as well. Again, still on the topic of money, right? Is that the industry practice is that we have our videographers, we have our camera ops, our gaffers, our grips, our photographers, whoever. Our terms are usually 30 days, and that's actually the for us is quite normal, right? But sometimes when we get big projects like the one I was mentioning earlier, payment terms like that are also could be like 60 days, 90 days. I've heard even more. And by the way, there's 60, 90 days from the point the client submits the thing into their system, whatever, right? So if that person says, oh yeah, I forgot it was last week. Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Or they missed the email. Can you send me again? Then they submit. And how many weeks is that? I don't know. That could be another 30 days that they saw it, missed the email. And you chase, hey, has it been done yet? Oh yeah, I'll submit it now. And then the 90 days start. And then you wait for 3
Wow.
months to get payment. That's why you said earlier, cash is so important. Money is very
Yeah.
sensitive. It's sensitive for a reason, because we, as the so-called middleman production houses, that we have to work with our freelance workers and who are very important to us. We want to pay them, but we also have to deal with this kind of industry challenges as well. End of the day, my take is this: a contract is to protect your friendship. So you can do work with your friends. A contract is there to protect what you have with each other. Don't take a contract as a like, oh, why you must do contract with me? Oh, we're friends, right? The contract is to protect that friendship, because I trust you, you trust me. Here's everything on paper. We're gonna get it done together, and we protect that way, because the paper is always there. So that's my key takeaway from the entire learning journey.
Yeah, first of all, that's a hard learning curve to kind of accept, given the fact that I know that trust is very important. You rely on that networking with those relationships that you build. And I think that it's kind of hard because we're in such a cutthroat business where money is always going to be kind of tight. that it always is what ties together your projects.
Yeah.
It makes sense that the contracts are now implemented in the company, and I think that that's definitely a piece of advice I'll take back as well. To kind of bring it up on a more positive note, your company's been around for a little bit. I'm sure it's been growing quite a lot. What was the biggest major accomplishment that you've had? What project are you the most fond of that you've done?
So I've had a few of my favorite projects, but one that happened most recently. I mean, it's like again going from almost closing on a business from losing that amount of money, right? And then just last month we were able to photograph the Prime Minister,
Oh, wow.
yeah, of
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Singapore.
cool.
It was a very simple shoot. Okay, when I say simple, I mean creatively it was rather simple, but obviously the logistics and the security
Oh
and
yeah,
the efficient,
security.
and the time that I had, it went from having maybe 3 hours to then it became 2 hours, and then it's like, okay, like now you need 1 hour. It was memorable because one, obviously for him, and the end of the shoot, when we got to shake hands, it was like he said, "Wow, very efficient." We finished within an hour. He got to go off. I mean, because man, that guy is busy as hell. I mean, other than being the prime minister, he's also the minister of finance, which is again it's a huge portfolio to hold. And this guy's flying everywhere. He's deals. So I mean, understandable. He is a very busy man. So for him to come and shake hands and say, "Hey, wow, very efficient, not bad," and then, and then we got take a selfie with him, things like that. Wow, it was great.
Exactly. And it's really cool that you got to do that project. So
Yeah, what a
now,
privilege.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm
Lucky.
curious, what is your idea for Minto Studios' future and growth? Where do you see the company going?
We are obviously going to continue to build more agency partnerships basically. We are already collaborating with some agencies where we are creating some new services to the market. So working together to offer something new and exciting. So I'm quite excited about that. But we are also going to move a little bit more into thought leadership for ourselves in Minto Studios. A bit more of educational content that we're trying to put out. Do a bit of content like this. And we just built a new studio, like this studio that you see here
Yeah,
today.
the podcast room.
Yeah.
Yippee!
So yeah,
Yeah.
we want to kind of use this podcast room that we've created to collaborate a little bit more because again, the industry is ever changing, especially with AI and whatever is going on in the market today. We need to adapt quickly. Again, summarize, we are building more partnerships. We are going to thought leadership as well as content creation, and finally, we are offering new services through collaborating with other agencies as well.
I think AI is definitely something that's on the rise,
Yeah, I
and
was
it's going to
gonna say
be a
that
little
too.
bit scary to deal with.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also think it works pretty well for stuff like editing and different features to kind of help boost certain things on social media. Get like a good
Yeah, I
trend
mean,
with that.
again, AI is not something we frown upon. Actually, it's something that's quite helpful to us. So it's a tool, right?
Yeah.
But it is the humans who use the tool that it is important because we still have to have that human element. Again, kind relationship. The way nobody wants to talk to an AI when we want to close a deal. Everybody wants to talk to a human being. You want that, like you said, right, Nichelle, the human connection is
Mhm.
important. So again, I truly believe the human connection, it will always be there and it's still important. But we must be able to adapt and use technology to our advantage to help us move forward. Yeah, so that one's always in our radar. We are actually experimenting with some AI today on this podcast as well. Secret, secret. Not gonna tell you, but yes, but we are experimenting with some things already today. And oh yeah, one more thing I will add on is that what we're also trying to move forward to is, but more long term, we do want to try and move overseas, becoming international because Singapore market is just too small. So for example, we want to try and maybe explore moving to Australia, Thailand or something a bit more developed markets, and Vietnam as well is coming quite up. So who knows, right? But maybe that's a bit more long-term goal that we want to try and do as well in the future.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's so exciting.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about the human connection earlier, and I've noticed that you have had a lot of interns before us,
Mm.
and you seem to have good relationships with most of them.
Yeah,
so
we've met some of
Hope
them.
so.
we
hope
met
so.
some of them.
Yeah.
They all kind of seem to come back happily. So, if I was just wondering, how do you cultivate those relationships, and how do you create a positive environment for them?
For my relationship with my interns is that um, it goes without saying that we shouldn't be treating our interns, for example, like, oh, go buy me coffee and that's it, or print paper for me. Oh no, please don't that. We try to treat everyone in our company, whether you're a full timer or a intern, as a collaborator of Minto Studios. Like, we're working together to do something. I believe I told you guys the same thing also, that this journey should be mutually beneficial. Yes, of course, you're here to help us to do projects, to help us, get shoots done and things like that. But it also must be something beneficial to you. You must be able to take something back, to learn something, meet your goals. This podcast was produced by the two of you.
Yay.
So we want to be able to give ownership to you guys to create something, right? So that something that you can take back and say, oh yeah, I did this as well. So you feel like, yeah, this is my project, this is my portfolio. I will always ask my interns in the interview, is like, what is your goal? What's your a little bit of a long-term goal or mid-term goal? What do you want to do? Because I want to make sure that the internship that you do here is able for you to take the next step towards that same direction, and and then through this journey, this step that you take, then you can decide, is this a journey you want to continue taking? Some of the photography interns, for example, I'll say, look, the studio is available for you to use. If it is a personal project, you want to try something, you want to try a new technique, and there's no shoot going on, it's over the weekend, for example, and nobody's using it, yeah, go, please use it. No rental charge, no nothing. Obviously, just take care of the things. You're responsible for it. Just let us know that you're using the studio, right? And the last thing I try to do is, as much as possible, I'll give them real life experience. For example, first week you guys came, I brought you guys to network already.
Yes.
Yeah, I
To me-
remember that.
Yeah, to meet other industry people as well, right? Because again, especially because you guys are from the United States, I wanted you guys to be completely exposed to what it is like here in Singapore. Because unfortunately, you guys have such a short time here. I wanted to make sure you guys get as much exposure as possible. I hope you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has been mutually beneficial for us as well. I learned a lot more techniques here than I have, just learning on my own. And I feel like there's different situations that I've been in where, like, I know a lot more about photography now. I also really like podcasting, which I learned. So I thought that
Yeah.
was so cool to, like, kind of set everything up. You did the more technical stuff for this one, and I did kind of the more storytelling part. But I think that it was just so unique and so cool to give us these opportunities that kind of gave us a huge spotlight. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it too. I feel like since I'm more in the social media end, I've been able to actually create a social media portfolio through the Minto Studios Instagram. That brings us to our next question, actually. Since you've been working with a lot of younger interns, and so we're curious, like, what advice you might have for someone in our position or just in general for younger creators who want to build visibility, who want to get more attention and maybe like network and build their portfolio.
Again, equipment, AI, all are tools. You don't have to have the best tool in the world to get the best work. It's all about work with what you have. Your phone also is great equipment to have for
Yeah, I
shoots.
film a lot on my phone.
Yeah, right. And it's the storytelling, what you want to say when you shoot. That's probably more important. Maybe you can't charge a lot if you're going to shoot with a phone, obviously. But you'd be surprised there are people paying for phone shoots nowadays. Okay, even
Wow.
I've even heard of, I think it's in US, I think, not so much in Singapore, but I've heard of wedding videographers that they hire phone videographers
Oh,
to shoot with the
didn't
phone.
know that.
Yeah. So again, it's not a tool. It's
Yeah.
it's about what can you bring to the table. The human being can bring to the table. That is so important. This is why I think human connection is important. So the other thing I can say is, especially you guys are studying now, the person next to you in school or that you're sitting next to, you never know who they can become in future, right? So what I mean by that is that don't be the asshole. Don't treat everybody like how you want to be treated. When you guys get out there into the industry, people will remember who you are. Singapore is small, but you besides the world is very small as well, right? I've had friends who are my uni mates. Some of them are founders of multi-million-dollar businesses. A lot of them very kindly have supported me in the business as well, right? Because we maintain a good relationship. We may have just small interactions in school, but we know each other. But we, again, weren't idiots to each other. I'm very fortunate that they came to then support. They saw me online. My hot take is creativity alone will not take you very far. That's my take. Or at least it will take you to a certain point. But again, like what I learned in the one big issue I faced in my career If I had known better about business, if I had known better about contracts, if I had known better about lawyers I could call or what, I probably would have avoided making that bad mistake. So business, a little bit of business knowledge will always be helpful. You don't have to take a business degree necessarily, but at least keep a breath of like what's happening in business. Not just the creativity of it, but learn how to network, learn a bit about contracts. Do research online. Because that's very, very important to protect yourself in business as well. Which brings me to the other point. Keep updating your friends and just anyone in general on your social media. If you're going to be in this industry, you got to let people know you're in this industry, and you got to let people know your works, what you're doing, be it LinkedIn, be it Instagram, be it Facebook. Yeah, you got to keep your friends updated. You got to keep your circle updated on what you're doing. You never know, the next deal will come from there as well. Say, hey, I saw you doing that the other day. Maybe I need this help as well. Can you help me take a headshot or whatever the case is? Can you help me shoot a video? I saw you doing a lot of this for this person. So can you help me as well? So you never know. So keep people updated. Don't remain in a shell. It's tough if you do that. And the last thing I can say is just keep shooting. If you're in creative field and you're a photographer, keep shooting. If you're a filmmaker, keep filming. If you're an artist, keep painting. If you stop and you complain, then nothing's gonna happen.
I agree that like if you don't have that business background or if you don't understand anything, you're gonna hit a wall at some point because it's hard to kind of, Wes Anderson, a really famous cinematographer, but it's hard to name other cinematographers that have the same amount of fame that he does.
Name recognition.
Yeah, name
brand.
recognition.
It's like
exactly.
you have to build the brand as well as being talented.
Yes, 100%. So I completely agree with that.
Can I add on to that, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
So the business and creativity can be a bit daunting for creative, especially to learn the accounts and the business side of things.
Yeah.
So if that you find too difficult, then get a friend. Work with somebody who can handle that for you. Explore with them part-time, whatever the case is. Get some help. If you don't ask, you never know. Even Wes Anderson, he had friends. They started out together. They filmed together. They supported each other. Get friends. People maybe those who would support you in your blind spots. I think that's another way to run a business.
Yeah, collaboration.
Yeah. And for our last question, we wanted to ask you about the cultural differences between the U.S. creative industry and the Singaporean creative industry. Is there anything that you think that the U.S. should be taking from Singaporean work culture and then using in the creative industry?
Maybe I'll just comment what I feel I take pride in, or what I find important in the industry for me anyway. Again, as I mentioned earlier, right, efficiency is very, very important to me in the workplace, in terms of our industry, or at least in terms of the way I focus on it. And obviously punctuality. If the guy is not being efficient at what he does, or the person is late at shoots multiple times, my own crew as well, my own staff, if they're late, that's frowned upon. And one more thing I put in is attitude to work. So these three things. So efficiency, punctuality, and attitude. I guess they all come together hand in hand, I guess, right? And then Singapore is we're very small, but we are always exposed to multiple cultures. We are very exposed to US, so we take a lot of learnings from US, but at the same time we have a lot of Asian influence as well. Whether it be in K-pop or in Mando pop or in the Chinese market. So we kind of melt a lot here. So I think if one thing I could say to the Americans is that do try to work with Singaporeans. I think we do have a unique perspective because we see both the Western and Asian cultures, and we have a way of melding both together. Yeah, so especially if you want to move into the Chinese market or the Asian market, Singapore is a very good ground to start that growth. So that's what I could say to American creatives.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like we're very individualistic. I mean, people often say like we're kind of like, I don't know, we do have attitude. I will argue with that. Especially if you're a small business owner, if you're like kind of fighting your way. Startup CEO.
So that's why I say in Singapore, collaboration, right? So you have to try to be able to work with people. If you try to be individualistic, you probably could. But many people aren't going to like you if you're always on your own.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But to each his own, I guess.
Yeah, I will say it kind of depends on what spaces you're in specifically in both the US and in Singapore. But in Singapore, I've definitely seen a lot of like cultural combinations. Like for example, the street signs are in English; they're not in Mandarin. And then also like I think there's 4 different official languages, right?
Mhm.
So when you're taking the MRT, you'll see signs that are in 4 different languages. Whereas in the U.S., there are a lot of places that are accessible, but because it's so big, there's people from so many different backgrounds that it's hard to accommodate for all of them.
Understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, sure.
What do you think is one thing that you've learned from working with us as American interns?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, if anything, right, Nichelle, you feel like a Singaporean. So, Nichelle, so you not
Yeah.
fair.
I feel like
okay?
you're the only person who says that. Everyone instantly can tell I'm not Singaporean by my American accent.
No, but it's not the accent, right? Again, so okay. So one, working with Eva, I want to, in particular, because she's first time in Asia, I had to adapt myself where I had to sort of pace myself slow a little bit. Because you are not only being thrown into a new workplace, you are also being thrown in a whole new culture. One thing I learned is a little bit be a bit more patient with you. To give you a bit more space to adapt, not just in workplace but in the culture, the heat, obviously the
Yeah.
heat,
Yeah.
and the way we work and the pace we work. So it's sort of about learning to be more cognizant about that, to be more patient with you, and for a foreigner who is coming to Singapore for the first time. Again, sorry, no offense, Nichelle, okay? Because
none taken.
you have been here how many times already? So
Yeah.
I cannot, you obviously know Singapore very well. So that's why I say you're acclimated to here. So I think
Yeah.
my learning is more about towards Eva. It's because it's about having to learn for myself to be a bit more patient, to allow you more space to breathe in
Yeah.
terms of our culture and our weather and our climate and all those.
When you say you had to be more patient, what was the biggest thing that you not had impatience about, but I guess like the biggest thing you had to kind of create a shift within your mind?
To sort of manage expectations. And
Mm.
actually, this one it's not only you. All my interns, I learned to sort of manage expectations. In my interview to interns, I always try to find out a little bit about their skill level, where they are in their journey. Are they technically very proficient? They're not. And then as they come in, I get a feel of them, and then I adjust, I tweak accordingly to each intern. How much can I give them? How much less can I give them? Can I challenge them a little bit more? Can I not challenge them a little bit more? Because not all interns are made the same. Your perspective or your being from United States, it's a completely new journey for me also. Before you guys, we had a French intern, believe it or not. She was
Oh,
doing her
wow.
master's here in Singapore.
Yeah.
Shout out Andrea, hello. So she was also great, but also same thing. We also had to adapt again to
Yeah.
her culture, and then now to you, the American culture. We got to adjust as well. But I'm grateful. I'm super grateful to have you, two of you, and to have had so many great interns over the years now. So
Yeah.
super thankful.
Yeah.
So thank you too for having us here
Yeah.
and taking a chance on us.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I
you.
really appreciate it.
Okay, cool. So thank you so much for chatting with us today and
Mm.
sharing all these insights about your business and your career journey.
Yes.
Thank you too. Thank you for asking such great questions as well.
Oh, of course. I would like to say follow us here on YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow us on all of our social media platforms. Thank you
Right.
so much for tuning in.